and welcome to the Wealthy LaLa Show with myself, Laurie Larson. Today is episode 161-2, and in Canada here, it is an actual holiday. So it's a long weekend. It's called the Civic Holiday. So for most people in Canada, you are off today. Lucky you. Excuse me. I just had some chocolate chips. Do you guys ever do that? Like sometimes just after I have a meal, I just like to have a little snack and something sweet. And chocolate chips just hit the right spot for me. So, anyways, what do we want to talk about today? I just finished reading this book that I think I talked about it one day last week, and it's called Lost Connections by Johann Hari, Hari. So it was just over a 10-hour book, and he started, it was about 10 hours. He went and researched depression. And I am just so grateful that I read that book because I actually learned some things that I did not know. And one of the things that I found really super interesting, and hopefully I get this right because it was one of the things I listened to a couple days ago. But they took a bunch of kids. So they took some kids that were from an Asian country. I'm pretty sure it was China. And they took a bunch of kids from the US. And so they showed them a picture of one child in the center in a group of kids. One child was smiling, and the rest of the kids were sad in the picture. Okay, and so what they did, these researchers, what they did was they asked the kids from North America if the child who was in the middle that was smiling was happy or not. And the children from the US said yes, they are. And when they asked the same question of the kids from China, they actually said no. And the researchers were like, well, how come? And they said, because them in China have been raised that if the group isn't happy, then everyone is impacted by that and they're not happy. So I thought that was so incredibly fascinating. Now he goes on a lot more in the book to talk about our need for connection, and he discovered that like they'll talk often, we'll hear in the news or we'll hear in articles and stuff like that depression is a chemical imbalance in the brain. And with his studying and researching of different people that have done studies and research around depression, is that it's actually not a chemical imbalance, that it is actually a social imbalance. And he studied a lot about, what impacts people. And like, if you think about it, well, there was also, there was another study that he talked about where in North America, we're raised a lot more to that if someone has a problem or if someone is different, they're very easily judged and sort of, I can't forget the word, but almost like separated from the group. They're seen as something standing on their own. And the more I sat with this, the more I kind of realized that often when we think someone is crazy or they're doing anything that triggers us, okay, usually we judge those people as wrong and we say that they have a problem. And as I read this book, what I was hearing underneath, like sometimes directly and underneath with his research and the stories he was telling, was that it's actually something that is a social thing. So if you have and if you think about it this way, say you've got a family of, like, I have 5 people in our family, 3 kids and my hubby and I. Now they're all grown up and they're out on their own now. But say when one of them when they were all at home, if one of them or any one of us as a 5 was upset about something, whatever it was, would it impact the rest of the family? And when I look at that, I'm going, well, how could it not? Like, really, how could it not? So, it's like if you've got a bunch of kids in school and you've got 1 or 2 kids that are not happy in the classroom, how does it not impact the rest of the room? The teacher, the teacher's assistants, teacher's aides, the other students in the classroom. Like, think about it. And yet we're very easy to separate someone who is, struggling in any sort of form. So whether they're coming across as crazy or whatever. There was actually a really cool story that he talked about too. And if I get this correctly, I don't remember where it was, but I'm almost thinking it was like in England or something. But they had some people that had mental health, what they call mental health issues. They had put them together and had them garden together. And as they gardened together, then got to talk to each other, got to know each other, they formed a community that ended up creating all of them as being greater. Like, they all were more content with their life, they were all more satisfied, they were happier. And because it wasn't set up as like a structure where, you go for counseling, you're one-on-one, like that kind of thing, it was done in a way where they all had sort of a common goal, and that was to, cultivate this. It was a garden or a park. It was like gardens in the park. And when they had something that they were excited about, it was something they were working together on with other people. They had a sense of community, they had a sense of belonging, they had a sense of connection, that it actually ended up being something that created so much more for each of these people in their lives. And what I find fascinating about this is that, and I mean, I've even kind of preached this myself, is that, we're at a time where I'm like, we really have to take care of ourselves. Like, we really do. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health. And when I was listening to this book, sometimes I would think, well, that almost seems like a selfish way of being. Yet, what I'm discovering is that there's a line where you take care of yourself, and in taking care of yourself, it becomes something greater to take care of with and for other people. I don't really have that all kind of quite like figured out in my head, how I would, talk about that really fluently. But it just kind of put a question in my universe or in my world as to how I would handle that. And yeah, but this idea of connection, and I'm really quite fascinated about that. I'm really quite intrigued by having listened to his book and listening to some of the stories, and especially that one about the kids. And depending on where we live, it depends on what we're influenced by. And we are raised to look more after ourselves in North America than, say, other countries. So yeah, it was just such interesting information. And I love when I read something different. It's something that intrigues me. I don't get all the answers or the awarenesses right away. And it just keeps me intrigued and fascinated and curious about life and how things move forward. And I wonder too, like, where I'm going to get the awareness of the information that I'm actually asking for, because it always comes. It always does. And that part I'm so incredibly grateful for. So, yeah, because I see a lot of separation with a lot of people nowadays. And I wonder if it's our mindset. I wonder if it's an easy way that we discard people that are different than us, whether it's different through, sexuality, whether it's different through looks, whether it's different through how we handle life. Um, and then there's also this other part that I'm aware of where, I get that a lot of people are not really that happy and require or desire, maybe not require, but desire a lot more time to themselves. And so in that could look like a separation, and it could be also, self-care. And so I guess, again, with the whole idea of question is each of us would have to find what that is for each of us. Now, what I really found that was interesting is my family member that came to visit. I know I did talk about this on the show the other day, but but with regards to this whole connection thing, what I found was really interesting by having the visit was it really did bring in a greater sense of gratitude for me and my life and what I have. And it also was really fun to contribute to someone else to, create a comfy bed for them and make meals and to take them to do fun things. It was almost like in a way of, well, it was like contributing to someone else and something that was fun. And it also then came back to me in the fact that I also got, a sense of gratitude and a fun of play of the different things that we chose to do and sharing my family, sharing a local little bar, sharing our little, like our small town library, sharing, just even the countryside because she lives in a city, and just showing a different way of life, a different way of being. And her and I actually the one day too, like we have a 2-seater hot tub. We built a deck last year and we have this hot tub. So it was her suggestion actually, and then we did it. We went and had coffee in the hot tub in the morning on the last day that she was at our place. And and even getting to share it that way, it really does. It's like our sharing of our lives, it's almost like it exponentializes it. And what was really interesting too, I just want to bring this up towards the end here, is one of the last things he talked about that I listened to today was he said people who had any kind of, like, say, childhood trauma, they discovered that if they just had someone who cared about them and they were able to have someone listen to them and release any of the blame or shame or guilt or what they felt, where they felt that they deserved it, um, when that was released, like shared with someone who actually genuinely listened to them, genuinely cared about them, and gave them the space with no judgment, that those people, it was actually proven that those people actually had less healthcare visits, they had less depression, they got over things quicker, and they were happier in their lives after having that kind of a sharing situation. And you know, yeah, I'm just intrigued by it, just incredibly intrigued by what having connection of with other people creates for us. And like I'm really having fun. So I've talked a couple times about doing this 30-day limitless being limitless or something workshop slash class slash journaling thing with Corey Michelle. What's cool about that is one of the girls, there's another friend of mine who is actually taking it too, and how that actually creates like a sense of connection for myself, just a little bit of a, it just makes it kind of fun. Yeah, and I just wonder, like, if that's something you feel like you're missing in your life, I would just like, and I know myself, I just, ask the universe just to show us where we can have more of that, where we can find more of that, where things like that would be fun for us, where we can go play with others that would be a contribution to us and to them. Huh, I just wonder. Anyways, well, on that note, you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and thanks so much for listening. Big hugs to you from the wealthy LaLa.